In Washington, the Republican spending bill is helping unite the Democratic Party after days of infighting over a GOP resolution to avert a shutdown.
Party leaders called for a Medicaid day of action today to protest the spending bill they say will mean drastic cuts to Medicaid. Your political reporter Sean Boyd is here to break down the potential impact in Colorado.
And Sean, you've reported on potential cuts to Medicaid at the state level as well.
Right, as lawmakers look to close a $1.2 billion budget shortfall. Medicaid accounts for a third of the general fund and has ballooned by nearly $600 million in the last year alone. The governor's initial budget proposal would have reduced Medicaid spending by $57 million. While he revised that, there will still be some cuts at the state level, but Democrats say they pale in comparison to what Republicans in Congress are contemplating.
30% of our patients in this clinic alone would lose their insurance.
Democrats turned to two heavy hitters in Colorado as the fractured party attempted a reset around a unifying message.
$880 billion of cuts to Medicaid would dismantle the Medicaid program as we know it, and it would mean that hundreds of thousands of Coloradans would no longer have access to health care.
U.S. Representative Joe Neguse and Governor Polis sounded an alarm about a Republican spending bill that directs the Energy and Commerce Committee, which oversees Medicaid, to cut the deficit by $880 billion over the next decade. Colorado Congressman Gabe Evans sits on the committee.
To say that those $880 billion are going to come from Medicaid or even from health care is a complete falsehood, because the committee has jurisdiction over pretty much the rest of the U.S. economy. So there's a wide range of places where those cost savings can be found.
But the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office says Medicaid will likely be one of those places, since it accounts for 93% of the funding under the committee's jurisdiction.
The focus of the conversation is making sure that the Medicaid program remains financially viable by cutting out the fraud, waste, and abuse that's in the program.
Republicans are also weighing work requirements for recipients, per capita caps, and reducing the federal match, which is 50% for most Medicaid recipients in Colorado and 90% for those added under Obamacare. The Colorado Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing says the new matches could cost the state $2.5 billion a year.
There's no way the state can make any of that up in our budget. And the first thing that will go will be benefits, and then people would be thrown off of their health care,
which Governor Polis says would drive up costs for everyone as places like Clinica Family Health cut services and more people use emergency rooms. CEO Simon Smith says 40% of the patients here are on Medicaid, and he's already cut 15% of his workforce over the last year.
We're turning away new patients who have nowhere else to go in the community. We've dipped deep into our limited reserves, and we've absorbed consecutive years of operating losses.
I think it's very important that the American people are paying attention to this fight, because it affects every one of us. Because if those cuts occur, even if you have health care, you're going to be paying a lot more for it.
Medicaid covers 1 in 4 Coloradans, and many Americans are in states that President Trump won last year. He says he opposes any cuts to the program, but again, an $880 billion deficit reduction won't happen without changes in Medicaid. And the GOP spending bill narrowly passed the House, but it does have an uphill battle in the Senate, where even many Republicans have some reservations about it.
Sean, what's driving the increased costs in Medicaid, specifically here in Colorado?
The state says it's largely due to utilization by older Coloradans and people with disabilities, who make up just 9% of the Medicaid population, but 50% of the costs. What a lot of people don't realize is long-term care is covered by Medicaid, not Medicare.
Interesting. All right, Sean, thank you so much.